this is where I'll channel Sophia from Golden Girls and just say, picture it, early January, a new high deductible health plan with a full deductible to meet for the year. It's a textbook scenario that everyone kind of worries about when you think about a high deductible plan.
Welcome, listeners. I'm pleased to have Jamie joining us today. With more than 15 years in the self-funded industry, she has a lot of stories to share. She leads Nova's population health and product management team, and she is a member of our diversity council and culture steering team. She is an amazingly perfect blend of both left brain and right brain, wildly creative, but can still do math. Her husband is also an industry insider, and I'm going to bet they have some amazing conversations around insurance at the dinner table.
Welcome to the podcast, Jamie. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Is it everything you dreamed it would be?
Absolutely. And more. Thank you.
So before every episode, we share 3 questions with our guests. So today I'm going to ask you, what have you learned because something went so badly you want to warn others?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is an emergency health event that I experienced a little over 7 years ago when I was 12 weeks pregnant with my son. I had a bowel perforation and required emergency surgery to resect and repair my small intestine. My surgery and subsequent hospital stay was quite expensive, and I had a long recovery period while also being pregnant. This experience both yielded lessons in how to handle the financial aspects of the bills that piled in after the event, and also the importance of advocating for complex care needs while I recovered as pregnant. And it was an expensive emergency in the first, couple weeks of January before any other financial responsibilities had been met for the plan. And the bills started to roll in from multiple entities, you name it, ambulance companies, the facilities themselves, specialists, follow-up provider visits that I had, all reflecting pretty much full member responsibility, knowing I was in a high deductible plan because no claims have been paid yet, or processed through the health plan. So, even knowing the business, it was very overwhelming, and also just kind of, not feeling well. And the only thing I could do each day was see the mail come in and the bills come in. But I knew I had to allow some time for the claims to be submitted to my medical plan in order to see, which one satisfied the deductible, to then understand, how my portion would be reduced in copays, 2 copays on other services. So in some instances, this required me calling the providers, directly to ensure they had submitted the claims to to my administrator. And then I kept in close contact on when the claims were paid, read detailed EOBs, just so I could close the loop with the providers on my actual financial liability. And this process is not easy. It takes time. It takes a lot of follow-up. And so my best advice, to others is really just not to react too quickly to the initial bill sent, get comfortable with kind of digging in, and open up those lines of communication with both your plan and providers, so that the process can be completed as designed. And I just think, too, over the last 7 years or so, I've even seen more and more services pop up, whether, offered, in this industry, in the spirit of being very, member-centric, to help with just this. You see, concierge type services and care navigation services. So don't be afraid to kind of lean on the support provided by the health plan and other resources to really help untangle this, because it's a lot, and it's a lot to deal with when, especially when you're not feeling good. So
and you have babies.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other aspect of this experience was lessons I learned as I was recovering from surgery while pregnant and balancing the needs of, what was ultimately diagnosed as a lifelong chronic condition with specific required treatment, but not treatment that I could receive while pregnant. It wasn't perceived as being safe. So I had to kind of go on this alternate course of, medications that may not have been as effective, trying very specific and very strange diets, and other therapies that were deemed safer while pregnant. But after 4 months, I was I was still very sick. I was unable to tolerate any foods. I was losing weight when I was really supposed to be gaining weight at a good clip for the health of my baby. I couldn't make it through a work day. I can't tell you how many times I drove to the office and then drove right home because I was just getting sick all the time. So there was one pivotal moment when I got sick right in the office at a maternity checkup. And that moment really prompted my doctors to immediately begin coordinating my care in a way that they hadn't before. And, really did it with a more integrated approach. They introduced some supportive, more specialized care that so fortunately enabled me to, deliver a healthy baby. But, and I'm very, very fortunate for that. But, looking back, I wish I would have advocated for some of this sooner. We kind of touched on it. I had a little baby at home at the time. She was 9 months old. I couldn't hold her for months. I couldn't, do the, just sort of the things you want to do as a new mom with her being that young. So I wish I would have used some of the resources available to me maybe a little bit sooner, such as, seeking additional opinions or even engaged additional care management resources that, were available through the plan or, other providers. So that would be, some advice that I would give is just really don't leave any stone unturned when it comes to your own health and your care. And, as much as, this experience helped me learn a lot of things, it's still such a curve to, continue to apply it.
First of all, thank you for sharing that story, which was obviously traumatic, and you had another little gal at home, and that obviously is in your mind as a parent, right? You want to be the best parent you can be, but you're sick and you need care. So I think it's balancing that with patience, trust, advocacy, that care team integration, like you talked about. When you're sick and you don't feel good and time is of the essence, you really, it's funny when everything's going good with your doctor, you're like, my doctor's great, right? You just go to your yearlies and everything's good. But it's up until you have an event like that you really can see how the care coordination teams function, not, on the payer side and on the medical side. And it's just a whole lot to navigate. It makes you look at it through a different lens.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Thanks for having me. Hope to come back soon.
So our Under the Coverage podcast is brought to you by Nova Healthcare Administrators. Between our colleagues and business partners, we know a lot of kind, smart, and thoughtful people in the benefits industry who we convinced to share their tips with you.
Don't forget to leave a review, give us a like or subscribe, but more importantly, share. We'll find the insiders, you share it with the outsiders. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. And if you have a question you'd like answered, you can email podcast@novahealthcare.com or find us on Twitter @UNDRTheCoverage.